Hello everybody, here we are with the second video of the day. I imagine you guys probably didn't expect to get a second full video. However, we were given a few images of the Great One Moose that we did not get to see on stream, so we're going to take a look at all those variations right now. So first of all, we've got the Fabled Two-Tone right here, which is a variation that we did see during the live stream. And I think it looks really good, and this is the more typical looking Great One rack as well. So this combination actually looks pretty insane. I think it's going to be a really good looking combination to get. I like how kind of like the antlers are a bit lighter, and it matches kind of the lighter frontal end of this moose variation. So I think this would actually be a pretty cool combination to get. But keep in mind, you can get any of the racks on any of the fur types. So there's going to be so much combinations and variation with the Great One Moose. And man, I am so excited to get out and hunt these. You know, Moose Great One was never a top 5 Great One that I wanted in the game. I always thought it would be cooler to get a blacktail or a mule deer or one of the elk species first, but my gosh, I am happy that they did moose after seeing all of this, and you guys will see why a little bit further down in these images, because it gets crazy. It gets absolutely insane. So the next one that we're going to take a look at is the Fabled Spruce with the smaller variation of the non-typical rack, and yes, you heard that right, the smaller version of the non-typical rack, because there's one that gets even bigger and looks even more insane. Now, a lot of people liked this fur type the most. I saw a lot of comments about this being the favorite fur type. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it is a really good looking fur type. And to be honest, all of the fur types look phenomenal with the Great One Moose. I think they just completely outdid themselves with this one. The most variation we've ever seen on any Great One, and definitely the most care that's ever been put into designing one of these. Next up, we've got the Fabled Speckled, once again with that more typical looking rack on it. The Fabled Speckled is another one that I think looks really good, but I don't know if it's going to be one of my favorites. I think so far out of the 3 we've shown in this video, the Two-Tone is my favorite. I'd say the Spruce is second, and the Fabled Speckled is third. But we got more fur types to go through, so that's definitely not going to be my final order. Next up, we're going to show off something that is going to blow a lot of your guys' mind, because they didn't show this rack off during the live stream earlier, and oh my gosh, the Fabled Oak with this rack, phenomenal. I like the Fabled Oak fur type a lot. I think this is going to be a top fur type for me, and that rack right there is the one that I am going to be grinding so hard to try and get, because that is something special right there. That is what I expected out of a Great One Moose, is a massive, non-typical beast like this. And man, I'm going to grind so hard to get one. I will continue to grind moose until we get this rack. No matter how long it may take, we're going to get this rack. Next up, we have one of the more interesting fur types that I wouldn't have expected to get, but I kind of like it. The Fabled Birch actually looks pretty cool. This kind of reminds me of the spirit bears for the black bear. It's got a very similar look to it. It also has the pink hooves, kind of like an albino, so I guess this would be a variation of an albino animal that maybe just isn't fully albino. I don't know, but it looks really cool. I think this is going to be a top 3 fur type for me as well. That rack has to be my least favorite one, to be honest. I don't know, it just looks a little bit goofy to me, but that's just my opinion. I know there's a lot of you that like this rack as well, and it definitely wouldn't be bad if we ended up getting it either. It still looks good. I just think it doesn't look as good as the other racks that they have on these. And once again, these are not all the racks that are going to be on the Great One Moose, I don't believe. Or at least Jaxie said that he's not sure if this is all of them. So keep that in mind. There might be 1 or 2 racks that we have yet to see, but at least we got to see one more through these screenshots and get a closer look at all the fur types for you guys to see. And now we get to the final one, and this is the best image of that gorgeous non-typical rack. This rack is just so absurd. I can't believe they actually did basically what I was hoping they would with a Great One Moose. I always thought that if they did a Great One Moose, I'd want the rack to look as absurd as possible just to make it worth grinding, because moose aren't the easiest thing to grind. Stuff like white-tailed deer and red deer are definitely easier due to more males being in the groups. but I think this makes it worth it for me. This makes it worth having a slightly more spread out grind like the moose, and I'm going to be really happy to be chasing after this beast right here. And this, honestly, is one of my favorite fur types. I think the Fabled Ashen might be my favorite. These last three that we showed off are probably my top 3 fur types, followed by the two-tone, and then the spruce, and then the speckled. I don't know what it is. I've just never liked the speckled style of look. Didn't really like the Fabled Spotted Black Bear either, so I guess it's just something I'm not a fan of. But overall, this is probably the most detailed and amazing looking great one they've ever made, and that's saying a lot coming from me, because I was not really expecting the moose to be one of my favorite great ones, and I think it is going to be the #1 favorite for me. But anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed watching this video and a closer look at some of these phenomenal racks and fur combinations for the Great One Moose. I can't wait to get out and hunt this guy whenever this patch releases, and we are going to be going hard. We are going to be grinding 8 hours or more a day, probably going to be streaming a good bit of it for you guys to watch. So remember to stay tuned for that, and yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Peace!